At this point, what I want to do is get my page from the point it's at here to a bit closer to here, and that's where these things are obviously collapsed over here. And at the very start of this particular technique, I need to actually hide all these elements that are in here. And these elements are inside what? A DL, a dictionary list. And since I want to hide them, hide is actually a jQuery function that's available to me. So how exactly would you get that done? Now, if you know what this piece of code over here means, you know that this is targeting DT and DD elements that are even, and this is the targeting piece of the code. And then on the other side of that is the function piece of the code, right? That this part is the dot add class, it's adding class. If you wanted to hide these elements, or hide at least DL elements, what do you think that would look like? If it looked very similar, right? I mean, I'll start actually by just copying and pasting this, bringing it down, and I'm going to remove the stuff in the middle of these single quotes because that's what it's trying to target, and I'm going to change it to a DL. So now now this piece of code is targeting a dictionary list. So what do we want to do to that dictionary list? Well, we don't want to add a class to it. We want to hide it, right? And we know that hide is a function of jQuery. And what I'm going to do is actually, there's no parameters that we're going to put inside a hide. We're just going to hide it. So I'm going to take out everything inside of those parentheses, including the single quotes. And here we have it. And now let's see what that does for us. That's exactly the function we were going for, right? We were trying to hide all that stuff. So now you're probably thinking, oh, so this is gone from the page, right? Well, visually it's gone, but actually the user still downloaded this content, or this content's still present in the browser. It's not being rendered. And I could prove that by looking at the background code, and you see that the DL is definitely still intact over there. So that's an important point to remember when you're working, is just because you hide elements, kind of similar to when you're using display none with CSS, just because you're hiding these elements doesn't mean that you're sparing the user the expense of downloading them. So they're still present on the page. And I'll show you, since I'm showing you the hide function, the show function is probably the exact opposite of that. And obviously, if you wanted to show these elements, you would use this exact call exactly the same way, except what would you do? You obviously change show, change hide to show, and that's all it would take. Let me show you an interesting feature of Firebug, which I think is particularly cool, especially to test certain jQuery functions. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to cut it out of my document, and I'm going to save it. Let me go back to Firefox, and I'm going to open up Firebug, and inside the one that's the DOM over here, I see that there's some stuff over here, which it doesn't even matter. That's not the point of this, of what I'm trying to explain over here. I just want to show that if you actually double click on one of these, you could change what it's actually doing. So if I double click on this, what I want to do is execute this function over here, this show function on my dictionary list. And when I do that, Viola, it all pops up.